Hi friends, welcome to Bookish English 2. In this video, you will walk with me through my first day in a new city. You will hear simple English, real thoughts, and daily life situations. By the end, you will understand how to describe travel, places, feelings, and quiet moments in clear, easy English. Chapter 1. Leaving Home. I woke up earlier than usual that day. The room was quiet, but my mind was not. I lay on my bed for a few seconds and looked at the ceiling. This was not a normal morning. This was the day I was leaving my home, the place where I had lived for a long time, the place where everything felt familiar. I took a deep breath and slowly sat up. My heart felt heavy, but there was also a small feeling of excitement inside me. I stood up and looked around the room. The walls were the same. The chair was in the same place. My bag was near the door. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt normal. I touched the table and then the window. I had done these things every day without thinking, but that morning, every small thing felt important. I was leaving this room behind. I was leaving this life behind, at least for now. I started packing my bag again, even though it was already packed. I checked my clothes. I checked my phone. I checked my documents. I did not want to forget anything. I felt nervous. I felt slow. My hands were moving, but my thoughts were somewhere else. I kept thinking, am I ready for this? I did not know the answer, but I kept packing. When I finished, I sat on the bed again. I looked at my bag. It was not very big. Everything I needed was inside it. Clothes, phone, papers. That was it. My whole life felt smaller than before. I smiled a little, but my eyes felt warm. I did not cry, but I felt close to it. I walked to the door and stopped. I did not open it yet. I stood there for a moment and listened. There were small sounds from outside, people talking, a car passing. Life was moving as usual. Only my life was changing. I held the door handle and felt cold metal under my hand. I closed my eyes for a second. Then I opened the door. I stepped outside and looked back one last time. The room was empty now. Quiet. Still. I whispered goodbye, even though no one was there. Then I closed the door slowly. The sound of the door closing stayed in my ears. It felt final. It felt real. I walked down the street with my bag on my shoulder. The road was familiar. I knew every turn, every shop, every corner. I had walked this road many times before, but that day I walked slower. I looked at everything like it was new. The small shop on the corner, the tree near the road, the old wall with faded paint. These things were part of my daily life, and now I was leaving them. People passed by me. Some were going to work. Some were talking on the phone. Some were in a hurry. No one knew that this was my last walk here. No one knew that my life was changing. I felt small in that moment, but I also felt strong. I was doing something difficult. I was moving forward. As I walked, many thoughts came into my mind. I thought about my family. I thought about my old routine. I thought about waking up in this place every day. I felt sad, but I also felt proud. Not everyone can leave their comfort. Not everyone can start again. I reached the place where I needed to go. I stood there with my bag and waited. I checked my phone again. Everything was ready. There was no reason to turn back. Still, a part of me wanted to. A part of me wanted to stay where things were easy, where things were known. But I knew that growth does not come from staying still. I took another deep breath and told myself something simple. This is just one day, one step. That thought helped me. I did not think about the whole future. I did not think about the problems that might come. I only thought about this moment. The vehicle arrived. I looked at it and felt my heart beat faster. This was it. I lifted my bag and stepped forward. My hands were a little shaky, but my feet were steady. I was scared, but I was moving. As I sat down, I looked out one last time. The place I called home was still there. It would always be part of me. I did not lose it. I was just adding something new to my life. The journey was about to begin, and this was only the first step. Chapter 2. The Journey. I sat quietly in my seat as the journey began. The vehicle moved slowly at first, then faster. I felt a small shake under my feet and hands. The sound of the engine filled the air. People around me were sitting in silence or talking softly. Everyone was going somewhere. Everyone had their own story, their own reason to travel. I was one of them now. I looked out of the window. The familiar streets started to disappear. Shops, houses, and trees passed by. Some places looked the same as always. Some looked different from this angle. I watched carefully, as if I wanted to remember everything. I knew that when I returned, it would not feel the same. I was not the same person anymore. My bag was near my feet. I checked it again, even though I knew everything was inside. This small action made me feel safe. It reminded me that I was prepared, even if my heart still felt unsure. I held my phone in my hand but did not use it. I did not want noise. I wanted to think. As the road continued, the city slowly changed. Buildings became fewer. Roads became longer. I saw open spaces. I saw fields. I saw places I had never seen before. This made me feel strange and calm at the same time. I was leaving something behind, but I was also moving toward something new. Time felt slow. Every minute felt longer than usual. I checked the time, then looked outside again. The sky was clear. Light moved across the window. Sometimes the vehicle stopped. People got on. People got off. New faces appeared. Old faces disappeared. Life was moving, even while I was sitting still. I listened to the sounds around me. A child laughed somewhere behind me. Someone spoke on the phone in a low voice. Bags moved. Seats creaked. These sounds felt normal, but also new. I was not in my usual place anymore. I was in between. Not home. Not yet there. I started to feel tired. Not just in my body, but in my mind. Big changes make you tired, even when you are not doing much. I leaned back and closed my eyes for a short moment. I did not sleep. I only rested. Thoughts came and went. Some were about the past, some were about the future. I did not hold on to any of them for too long. When I opened my eyes again, the view outside had changed. New buildings appeared. The road looked busier. More people. More movement. My heart beat a little faster. This meant I was getting closer. The new city was not far now. I felt nervous again. My hands felt warm. I rubbed them together slowly. I asked myself simple questions. Where will I go first? What will I do after I arrive? These questions had no answers yet, and that was okay. I reminded myself that I did not need all the answers on the first day. I watched people around me. Some looked calm, some looked tired, some looked excited. No one looked perfect. This made me feel better. Everyone struggles in their own way. Everyone is trying to move forward, just like me. The journey continued. The vehicle slowed down again. Traffic became heavier. Sounds grew louder. I knew we were entering a busy place. My body felt alert now. I sat up straight and held my bag more tightly. This was not fear. It was readiness. I thought about the decision I had made. Leaving home was not easy. Sitting here, moving farther away, made it feel real. But I did not regret it. Change is uncomfortable, but staying the same can also be painful. I chose discomfort because I wanted growth. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. I told myself something simple again. One step at a time. I did not think about tomorrow. I did not think about next week. I only thought about arriving, standing up, walking forward. The vehicle finally slowed down and stopped. People began to move. Bags were lifted. Seats emptied. My heart beat stronger now. This was it. The journey was ending, but something else was about to begin. I stood up with my bag and followed the people ahead of me. As I stepped forward, I felt different. Tired, yes. Nervous, yes. But also stronger than before. I had left my home. I had traveled alone. I had faced the silence and the waiting. This journey was not just about distance. It was about courage, and I had taken it. Chapter 3. First Arrival. I stepped down slowly and stood still for a moment. The ground felt different under my feet. I was here. The journey was over. This was the new city. I looked around without moving. Everything felt loud and busy, even though nothing special was happening. People were walking fast. Vehicles were moving in every direction. Voices mixed together. I held my bag close and took a deep breath. I did not rush. I did not know where to go yet. I looked at the signs around me. Some words were clear, some were not. I felt a little confused, but I stayed calm. I reminded myself that confusion is normal in a new place. No one is born knowing a city. Everyone learns step by step. I started walking slowly. I followed the flow of people, but I did not feel part of them yet. They knew where they were going. I did not. My steps were careful. I watched the ground. I watched the road. I watched faces. Everyone looked busy. Everyone looked focused. I felt small, but not weak. The air smelled different. It was not bad, just different. Food smells mixed with dust and fuel. I heard horns. I heard footsteps. I heard voices in languages and accents I was not used to. This made me feel awake. My senses were working hard. My eyes moved from one place to another. I did not want to miss anything. I stopped near the side of the road and looked around again. Tall buildings stood close to each other. Shops were open. Some people stood outside talking. Others waited for transport. Life was happening everywhere. I was not the center of it. I was just one person inside it. That thought made me feel calm. I checked my phone. The battery was still good. The time was clear. I felt a small relief. Small things matter when you are new. I did not call anyone. I wanted to stay quiet. I wanted to feel this moment fully. I tried to understand where I was. I looked for familiar signs. I matched what I saw with what I remembered from maps and pictures. Slowly, things started to make sense. Not fully, but enough to move forward. I picked a direction and started walking again. As I walked, I passed many people. Some looked at me. Most did not. I realized something important then. In a big city, no one is watching you. Everyone is busy with their own life. This made me feel free. I could walk slowly. I could stop. I could look around. No one cared. I crossed a road and waited with others. I followed when they moved. This simple act made me feel connected. I was learning the city by watching, by copying, by doing what others did. This was how I would survive here, not by knowing everything, but by learning slowly. My bag felt heavier now, not because it was heavy, but because I was tired. Still, I kept going. I did not want to sit yet. I wanted to find my place first. I wanted to feel safe. I wanted to know where I would rest. I felt nervous again, but it was softer now, not sharp fear, just careful thinking. I spoke to myself quietly in my head. You are okay. You are here. Take your time. These simple words helped me stay steady. I noticed small details as I walked. A man selling fruit, a woman talking to a child, a shop with bright lights, a narrow street between buildings. These small scenes made the city feel human, not cold, not scary, just busy. At one point, I stopped and stood still again. I looked up at the buildings. They felt tall, bigger than the ones I knew. For a moment, I felt lost, truly lost. But then I reminded myself of something important. Feeling lost does not mean you are failing. It only means you are new. I took another deep breath and smiled a little. This was my first day. I did not need to understand everything. I only needed to keep moving, slowly, carefully. I adjusted my bag and started walking again. My steps felt more confident now, not strong yet, but better than before. I was no longer arriving. I had arrived. The city was not mine yet, but I was inside it, and that was enough for today. Chapter 4. A Small Room. After walking for some time, I finally reached the place where I would stay. My legs felt tired, and my shoulders felt heavy from carrying my bag. I stopped in front of the building and looked at it quietly. It was not big, it was not beautiful, but it was real, and for now, it was enough. I walked inside slowly. The air felt different, more still, more quiet. The noise of the street stayed outside. I felt a small sense of relief. I followed the directions I was given and reached a door. I stood there for a moment before opening it. This was the place where I would rest, the place where I would sleep tonight. I opened the door and stepped inside. The room was small, very small. There was a bed near the wall, a simple table, a chair, a window, nothing more. The walls were plain. The floor was clean, but old. Light came in through the window and fell softly on the bed. I stood there and looked around without moving. I put my bag down near the bed and sat on the chair. My body felt heavy now. I had been moving all day, leaving home, traveling, walking, thinking. Now I was finally still. I let my shoulders drop. I let my hands rest on my knees. I took a long breath and closed my eyes for a moment. The silence felt strange. At home, silence felt normal. Here, it felt new. I could hear distant sounds from outside. A car, a voice, a door closing somewhere. These sounds reminded me that I was not alone, even though the room felt empty. I stood up again and walked slowly around the room. I touched the bed. It was firm but clean. I touched the table. It was simple but strong. I opened the window a little and looked outside. I could see part of the street, people walking, life moving. I felt connected again. I sat on the bed and placed my bag beside me. I opened it and took out my things slowly. Clothes, phone charger, papers. I placed everything carefully, not because the room was special, but because this was my space now. Even if it was small, it was mine. As I sat there, a feeling of loneliness came quietly, not suddenly, not loudly, just a soft weight in my chest. This was the first time I was alone in a new place. No familiar faces, no familiar sounds, just me in this small room. I did not fight the feeling. I let it stay. Loneliness is not an enemy. It is a sign of change. It means you have left something behind, and leaving something behind means you are moving forward. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. It looked different from the one at home, a different color, different marks. I smiled a little at this thought. Even ceilings are new in a new city. My body asked for rest, but my mind was still awake. Thoughts came and went. I thought about my first steps in the city. I thought about how lost I felt. I thought about how I kept going anyway. That made me feel proud in a quiet way. I sat up again and looked around the room once more. It was not perfect. It was not comfortable yet. But it was safe. Safe is important on the first day. Comfort can come later. I reminded myself of something simple. This room is not my life. It is only a starting point, a place to rest while I build something new. That thought made the room feel bigger. I stood near the window and looked outside again. The light had changed. The day was moving forward. Time did not stop because I arrived. That was okay. I did not need time to stop. I only needed time to continue. I sat back on the bed and took another deep breath. My body felt tired, but my heart felt steady. I was here. I had a place to stay. That was enough for today. This small room was not a dream. It was not a failure. It was a step. And sometimes, one small step is all you need. Chapter 5. Walking Outside. After resting for a while, I decided to go outside again. The room felt quiet and safe, but I did not want to stay inside for too long. I needed to see the city again. I needed to move. I stood up slowly, took my phone, and checked the time. The day was still young. There was enough light outside. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. The sound of my footsteps felt loud in the quiet space. I walked down and reached the street again. The noise came back at once. Cars passed by. People talked. Shops were open. The city did not feel as new as before, but it was still unfamiliar. I started walking without a clear plan. I did not want to rush. I wanted to let my feet decide. I stayed close to the area near my room. I did not want to get lost. Still, every step felt like learning. I looked at signs. I looked at shop names. I watched how people crossed the road. As I walked, I noticed small things: a man sweeping the road, a woman standing outside a shop, a group of children laughing. These simple scenes made the city feel more alive. I was not just passing through anymore. I was part of the street, even if only a little. I felt nervous when I walked past crowded places. Too many people, too much noise. I slowed down. I reminded myself that it was okay to walk slowly. No one was waiting for me. No one was judging me. Everyone was busy with their own life. After some time, I felt thirsty. I looked around and saw a small shop. It was simple, nothing special, but it was enough. I stood outside for a moment, then walked in. The shop felt warm and bright. The shopkeeper looked at me and waited. I spoke slowly. I asked for water. My voice felt quiet, but clear. The shopkeeper understood me and gave me the bottle. I paid and said thank you. This small moment made me feel good. I had spoken. I had bought something. I had managed. I stepped outside again and held the bottle in my hand. It felt cold and real. I took a small drink and stood there for a moment. This was not a big success, but it was a success. Small actions matter on the first day. I continued walking. My steps felt lighter now, not confident, but less afraid. I watched how people moved, how they stood, how they waited. I copied them without thinking too much. This was how I would learn the city, by watching and doing. I passed food stalls and small places to eat. The smell of food filled the air. It reminded me of home. It made me feel hungry and a little sad at the same time. New places always remind you of old ones. I accepted that feeling and kept walking. At one point, I stopped near a road and waited to cross. Others stood near me. When they moved, I moved. This simple act made me feel connected again. I was learning without words. The city felt less sharp now. The sounds were still loud, but they did not scare me. I understood something important then. Fear becomes smaller when you face it slowly. After some time, my legs felt tired again. I did not want to walk far. I turned back toward my room. The streets looked different now, more familiar. I recognized some places. This made me smile. When I reached the building, I paused before going inside. I looked around one more time. This place was not home yet, but it was becoming something close to it. I walked inside with a calm feeling. Walking outside had helped me. I had seen the city. I had spoken. I had survived the noise and movement. That was enough for today. Sometimes the bravest thing is not doing something big. It is stepping outside and trying. Chapter 6. The First Night. When I returned to the room, the light outside was softer than before. The day was slowly ending. I closed the door behind me and stood still for a moment. The room felt familiar now, even though I had only been there for a short time. Familiar does not always mean long. Sometimes it only means safe. I put my bag down and sat on the bed. My body felt tired in a deep way, not just from walking, but from thinking and feeling all day. Big days make you tired like that. I leaned back and let myself rest. The quiet of the room wrapped around me. I turned on the light. It was not bright, but enough. Shadows moved softly on the walls. I looked around the room again. The bed, the table, the chair, the window. Everything was still simple, still small. But now, it felt like my space. I took out my phone and checked it. There were messages from home. Simple messages, asking if I arrived safely. I read them slowly. I felt a warm feeling in my chest. Even in a new city, I was not alone. People cared. I replied with short words. I said I was okay. I said I had reached safely. After that, I put the phone away. I did not want to scroll. I did not want noise. I wanted to be present. I lay back on the bed and looked at the ceiling again. The day moved through my mind like a quiet movie. Leaving home, the journey, arriving, walking, buying water. Everything felt real now. I noticed how quiet my breathing was. I noticed how heavy my legs felt. I noticed how tired my eyes were. These were signs that the day was ending. I welcomed them. Rest is important after change. I stood up again and prepared for sleep. Simple actions. Washing my face, changing clothes, small routines from my old life followed me here. This made me feel steady. Some things do not change, even when everything else does. I lay down on the bed and pulled the blanket over me. The bed felt different from the one at home. The pillow felt strange. The sounds outside were new. A car passing, voices from far away, a door closing somewhere. I listened quietly. At first, sleep did not come. My mind was still awake. Thoughts moved slowly. What will tomorrow be like? What will I do next? I did not answer these questions. I let them stay open. The first night is not for planning. It is for resting. I felt a small wave of loneliness again. It came gently, like before. I missed familiar voices, familiar sounds, familiar places. But I also felt something else. Pride. I had done something hard. I had reached the end of the day. I was still standing. I reminded myself of something important. Feeling lonely does not mean you made a mistake. It only means you care. And caring is not weakness. I turned on my side and closed my eyes. I focused on my breathing, in and out, slow and calm. The room felt quiet again, safe again. As sleep slowly came closer, I thought about the city outside. It was still moving. People were still walking. Lights were still on. Life continued, even while I rested. Tomorrow, I would be part of it again. My first day in the new city was over. It was not perfect. It was not easy. But it was real, and that was enough. Sleep finally came, soft and quiet, and with it, the feeling that this was only the beginning. Thank you for listening to my first day in a new city. If this video helped you understand simple English and real life better, like the video and subscribe to Bookish English 2.0. More everyday English stories are waiting for you.